He's Rich Eisen. He's the host of NFL Game Day Morning, the Rich Eisen Show on DirecTV's Audience Network, and he joins us now. How are you?
How are you?
Good. Have you ever grown a beard?
Oh, yeah. I wore one for about 4 weeks after coming back from vacation in late March, early April, to the point where there is a Twitter account, Rich Eisen's Beard. I believe it has maybe 15 followers right now. And I wore it. I kept wearing it. Susie said she liked it. And then after a while, it just, I think it outgrew its life. I tried once after a vacation of wearing a goatee on SportsCenter. But they had to draw in the connecting part between the mustache and the beard. And then one time I sort of wore, back this when I had hair, I wore bangs on SportsCenter. And you, if I'm not mistaken, you took me to. I remember Clooney was in a movie that he wore bangs once or something like that. You just said that I looked like a poor man's version of that, and then talked about some sort of Roman senator that you saw on a PBS show or something, and that was the end of that haircut. But other than that, it's just it is what it is, as they say.
Did you hate me at SportsCenter at any point?
No, Dan, I did not. It's one of those things, too, that if I didn't hear from you, I would have taken it as that would have been the problem. Perfect example of that, too, is when I covered the U.S. Open for 3 years for CBS, America's most watched network. After I left SportsCenter and started with the NFL Network, they asked me to do their late-night show. If you remember, they had a late-night highlight show every U.S. Open in between Dave and Kilby. And anyway, long story short, reason why I bring this up is part of the duties. I got to call one match on Labor Day Saturday to give Dick Enberg a little bit of a break, so you didn't have to call 3 matches on Saturday and 3 on Sunday. So there I am in center court. I think it was Lindsay Davenport against some poor French lady who she mopped the floor with in about 35 minutes' time. And I'm calling it with McEnroe and Carrillo. And I'm sitting there in the booth taking my notes, and McEnroe walks in. And I turn around, there's Johnny Mac, and he looks at me and he goes, "Oh, man, I must be in the wrong booth. Hold on a minute." And he turns around and takes a couple steps out of the booth and turns around and then gives me that sly Johnny Mac look. And I'm like, okay, now we can start. So I had no problem with that back in the day, Dan.
All right. Just wanted to make sure.
Well, if you didn't do it, I'd have been concerned is what I'm saying.
Okay. We're talking to Rich Eisen from the NFL Network and DirecTV's Audience Network. Who's on today?
Mike Breen. Of the mothership. You had Tirico calling the action on radio, Breen on TV. John Miller, formerly of the mothership, who called the no-hitter last night, voice of the Giants on radio.
Oh, nice. And
Tom Papa, the comedian and host of a new show called Boom on Fox, the person with whom I'm constantly told on Twitter I look alike. So that's today's program, coming right after yours on DirecTV.
Do you follow Amy Schumer? Have you?
Oh, God. I think she's hilarious. I think she's the best.
Like the comedic world belongs to Amy Schumer right now.
Well, you're talking about that Hater Schumer movie that
with LeBron
in it?
Yeah.
During the game last night? Yeah. She cracks me up. She is hilarious. Yes. Do you?
Yes, I watched the show when I heard her on Howard Stern, and I'd been watching Inside Amy Schumer, and then I just thought it was one of those nice little shows, and then all of a sudden, when people start quoting, or you have your YouTube videos, or then it exploded overnight for her. And then,
did you see her Friday Night Lights?
Yes.
Parody?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then she did the one with Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah, and there was also another one in a fast food place, behind the scenes at a fast food place. Josh Charles was in it too. Most of them are not safe for work. Us, I guess, to go further into detail, but that's part of the reason why she's so great.
But you have this, the viral world is what makes these stars now. It's not necessarily network TV or even cable. It's when somebody.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, the Fallon videos you always see the day after. There was one with Nicole Kidman from a conversation that the two of them had because he had no idea that she was into him years ago, and that went viral and hilarious. But most of them are not panel interviews with Jimmy sitting there and having and kicking it with his celebrity guests. It's some form of bit or or lip syncing or whatever. That's the way these things roll right now. The viral videos.
Do you want to do stand-up comedy?
I did, Dan. Back in the day,
in college,
I did it for 3 years in college. And I did 3 years. I opened for Tim Allen a couple of times back in Michigan because he's a state of Michigan guy. And my big finish was reading the Penthouse Forum letters in the voice of Howard Cosell.
Can you do a little bit of that?
Oh gosh, that's not very safe for work at all, Dan.
Oh.
But it always started with I never thought this would happen to me. And then it would absolutely spiral into something that a corporate stooge like myself could not repeat for you right now. But and my fraternity brothers loved the fact that I got to bring the gear home after the act. So, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And there's nothing like performing in front of hundreds of people and making them laugh, but there's also nothing like the nervousness that comes before you get up on that stage, and it's made everything that I've done in my life and career that much easier. Nothing comes close to it. Nothing. And and sometimes even back when I on the SportsCenter days or on NFL Network, I crack a joke, and it's not the job of everybody who's working on the floor of the show to laugh at my stuff. But if I don't get the immediate feedback, I think it's completely fallen flat.
Rich, coming up at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific on DirecTV's Audience Network, and of course he's the host of NFL Game Day Morning. Good to talk to you again, Richie. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, DP.